Trae Young's name is coming up in trade rumors, and it's not the first time that his name has been in these rumors, but it seems like it will be the last time as a member of the Atlanta Hawks. Shams Charania from ESPN reported that the Hawks and Trae Young's management are working on a trade where he can be the franchise guard elsewhere, and the only name with tangible reports linked to them are the Washington Wizards, and doesn't really seem like a name that usually would come up in these sort of discussions, but I absolutely love it for the Wizards, and here's why. The main reason why I love this trade, or this potential trade for the Washington Wizards, is that it's just such a low asking price. Like, financially, the Wizards their books are exceptionally clean. And for this deal to work, it has to be one of the old expiring contracts. That is Chris Middleton or CJ McCollum. Probably McCollum, especially if you're trading away Trae Young for the Atlanta Hawks. You probably just need another small, penetrating, shooting ball handler. Plus, for Washington, 2 smaller salaries on the side. So that could be, I don't know, Malachi Branham, Cam Whitmore, Will Riley. You can pretty much just go down the roster, but obviously don't pick one of their really good players like Kyshawn George or Alex Sarr. You could also tack on Corey Kispert. He's getting paid 4 years, including this year, and that is... It doesn't even matter what number it is. I think the commitment of 4 years is a little bit too much, so then maybe the value is going out. But pick-wise, the Washington Wizards control all of their own future first-round picks, which is awesome. They're a rebuilding team. That's exactly what you want. They don't have any straight picks incoming. They don't own anyone else's future. They do have swap rights with other teams. Like they have swap rights for the Phoenix Suns. I think in a couple of years there's some sort of 3-way deal with like the Brooklyn Nets or something. Whatever it is, it's not very juicy. The Washington Wizards project to be bad this year and next, so they're probably not swapping with whatever those teams are. So it's not really going to be a pick involved going to the Atlanta Hawks. If it is, I would imagine it's something in the 30s, and by that I mean like 2031, 2032, something so far away that you would hope that the Washington Wizards are good by then and those picks don't matter. But this new era of Washington has been really smart, so I imagine if there is a pick involved, it's going to be protected. That would be insane to trade a unprotected pick. So that's a pretty cheap price to get a guy who has been an All-NBA guard before. So let me just get into why the Washington Wizards should do this. Apart from the fact that the price is absurdly low, they're a rebuilding team, the Washington Wizards. So why would they want a 27-year-old, well, let's call him an all-star level, except he hasn't been playing at that level this year. Lucas, friend of the program, part of the program, and God, I think might be the one Washington Wizards fan anyone I know knows. He said in our group chat that, quote, "I've always said we're one Trae Young away from contending." Ha 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 ha. Very funny. Now, obviously, the Wizards are very far away from contending, but they clearly need a point guard, and they need a table setter for the young players. CJ's more of an off guard. His playmaking isn't one of his greatest skills. Bob Carrington looked fine as a rookie, but this year it's been less promising, and I think, look, if you had to project as confidently as you could where Bob Carrington's going to be for the rest of his career, you're probably going to say he's a bench piece for the future. And then outside of that, they don't actually have pure point guards on the roster. They've got playmaking wings like Bilal Coulibaly. They've got guys at the 2 who can play make a little bit, but they don't have that point guard for the future. And getting Trae Young would be that point guard of the future. It's what the report says that he wants. He wants to be the franchise point guard. And Trae Young's a dude who is going to dribble the ball down every single time. He's sort of, funnily enough, that they're always so intrinsically linked, but he's like a crappy Luka Doncic. So he's going to dribble the ball down. He obviously racks up the assists. He's led the league in assists per game. He's very dribble the air out of the ball, but I'm going to get the right shot, whether that's a right shot for him. This season, his points are down, as with the past couple of seasons, his points are down, but his assists through the roof. And he's clearly a really good playmaking guard, and I think every young team needs that. Obviously, you don't need to trade for a dude making around $45 million, but just having a young team, you need a veteran guard in there just to give them the ball and just to see what they can do with a guy who can actually pass them the ball. Look at Victor Wembanyama's rookie season. Everyone was just screaming that you've got guys, was Lonnie Walker still there? They had Jeremy Sohan. These guys just weren't passing him the ball. And then they just signed Chris Paul a year later. Chris Paul wasn't very good at basketball, but at least when he ran a pick and roll, he's like, hey, I'm going to give it to the tall guy rolling to the rim. And Alex Sarr has had an exceptional season this year. I don't think he'll win it, but he's definitely in the most improved conversation. But I'd love to see what more Alex Sarr can do if he's got a point guard for 36 minutes a night who's just going to pass him the ball. Also, Trae's only 27 years old. So let's say that this young core, the young nucleus of this Washington Wizards team grows. Trae, we don't really have a good idea of when primes are, especially for young players. But, you have to assume he's got 3 years of all-star play within him. And that's with the ceiling of all-NBA potential. If you think he can still go back to being the all-NBA player that he was, that's a pretty good player. And if Alex Sarr continues to develop, Kyshawn George, whoever they draft this year, and I'll get into that in a second, that's a pretty good core of a point guard who's really good at getting good players, good basketball players the ball, and just dudes in their early 20s just progressing how you want them to progress. Also, in this 2026 NBA draft, a draft that the Wizards will surely / hopefully be wanting to draft very highly on. The top 3 guys, it's actually been quite clear for a while, is there's AJ DeBanster, Darren Peterson, and Cam Boozer. All of them are off-ball guys. Like Peterson's, I think he's been mocked as like a 2/1, but he's a combo guard and he's a scorer first. Well, I think he's averaging 29 points at the moment. So there's no, let's say the Wizards get what they want, which is a top 3 pick. They're not going to be drafting a young point guard who Trae Young is going to get in the way of. Now, that obviously doesn't mean that there might not be a great young point guard that they will draft or will be available. You just don't. The draft is just such a crapshoot. They could draft someone in the second round who's better than Trae. But the top of the draft, where the Wizards should and will be drafting, there's wings, there's scorers, there's play finishers. And if you can get a guy who can be an all-NBA point guard on your team now to go along with all these play finishers for as cheap as it looks like it will be, I think you have to do that. But not to look a gift horse in the mouth, I think the price is a little bit too cheap. It's a little bit fishy at how cheap a deal is, because as soon as you say, the Wizards are interested in Trae Young, you go, okay, well, it's obviously going to be one of their big bloated old contracts, and they're obviously not going to give up their pick this year because, it's probably going to be top 3, top 5. Probably not next year because they're just so bad right now. You can't imagine them getting any better. So the picks aren't juicy, and they don't have any other picks to throw in. It's not like the Houston Rockets where they can just throw in the future of the Phoenix Suns. They don't have anything else to give. The young players, you're not going to trade for Trae Young and give up one of your core pieces like Kyshawn George. I don't know, is Bilal Coulibaly still considered a core piece? But you're probably not going to get a prospect who's good right now. You're going to get a prospect where it's like Malachi Branham, where it's like, hey, there's a 1% chance he's going to be really good, by the way, or like AJ Johnson, whoever it may be. That's a bit fishy. And the fact that it's Trae Young's agent working with the Atlanta Hawks front office to try and find a trade partner, I think there is a chance that the Wizards have gone, okay, throw our name in the ring. Like, no, none of our young point guards, because we don't really have any, are going to get pissed off that Trae Young's might come in and all of a sudden knock them out of the way. So there's actually zero loss for the Wizards to say, hey, we're in here. And maybe they're doing a favor for the agent/agency, and maybe they're saying, hey, we'll try and raise his price. Because I imagine if there's a team out there who might actually be a Trae Young away from contending, they're going to look at this deal and go, oh, okay, a very distant future first-round pick, a couple of fine young players, and like one of the worst contracts in the league, just like a 30 mil CJ McCollum sort of, I don't know, gift basket of expiring money. That's nothing at all. So all of a sudden, you might actually get into a bidding war where another team's like, okay, well, we'll give you our bloated contract. Let's throw a name out there like the Sacramento Kings. They could just give up like God, who would it be? Like a DeMar DeRozan, and then maybe they can give up their own future first-round pick this year, and all of a sudden that just smashes this Washington deal out of the park. So there might be some agent sort of maneuvering going on here. You've maneuvered me here. But if not, and I feel like I've said this 3 times this podcast, if not, I think you pounce on this 100% of the time if you're the Washington Wizards. I think there's almost nothing to lose. I think If there is, it's in the immediate, and it's that Trae Young might make your young players too good, and he might make your team too good in the immediate. But I don't know, man. You've got 10 wins right now. That's third worst in the league. And like, you're not going to win so many games. There's flattened lottery odds, and if you are worried about that, like Trae Young's always injured. I don't want to condone teams coming out with fake injuries, but you could just say he's got whatever soreness it may be, and essentially just rest him down the end of the year. If you trade for him now, it's going to actually be quite a hard sell to rest him for half the season. But if you trade for him at the trade deadline, it's much easier to say, oh, he's got a nagging shoulder injury or whatever it may be, and you can just shut him down for the rest of the year. If you're going to shut him down, you probably have to say, hey, opt out of your contract and we'll give you whatever extension that it is that you want. But again, it costs nothing. You're Washington. You're not going to do anything with your cap space. And if Washington do just stand pat, which I think is also a fine option, they're going to go into free agency this offseason and say, okay, we've drafted, let's say they get Cam Boozer, right? So and their young core looks awesome, but they're going to need a point guard to set them up because they didn't draft a point guard. They're hoping to draft one of the top 3 guys. And then it's like, okay, well, you're just going to like roll the dice in D'Angelo Russell and be like, hey, maybe just like pass a little bit more and just get like a stopgap until you can find the eventual long-term solution at point guard. I think I'm going to say it again. If the price is this low, you just get it because it's not going to be in this draft. I think this might be their best swing at getting an all-NBA level point guard. And if he's not that, then just an all-star level point guard to go along what should be a very, very exciting young core. 10 minutes after the 2026 draft is finished. Cool. Thanks for listening to the Quick Timeout with Sean Carroll. I'm Sean Carroll, and this is Quick Timeout. Probably should have said it at the start. Let me know what you think. I love talking about basketball, and if I've made you think something about this Trae Young potential trade, then let me know, because I don't know, what am I even saying here? Make it a great day. Bye-bye.
You want to talk WNBA? Maybe some WNBL? Australian Opals chat? Heck, even dabble in some EuroLeague? Find the W Basketball Show on the Deep 2 Podcast Network.